The committee will now hear from the distinguished representative of the Russian Federation, His Excellency Konstantin Vorontsov, Acting Deputy Director of Department on Non-Proliferation and Disarmament. Excellency, you have the floor.
Mr. Chair, the Non-Proliferation Treaty is one of the foundations of today's world order. The review conference is upcoming. There, we trust we will be able to reach generally acceptable solutions to shore up the NPT regime. We share the noble goal of a nuclear-free world, yet we understand the views of those who advocate for an immediate abolition of nuclear weapons. However, achieving progress in nuclear disarmament can be achieved only based on a consensus and through calibrated phased reductions in the context of Article 6 of the NPT, while preserving a strategic balance in accordance with the principle of individual security. There are some attempts to impose an immediate ban on nuclear weapons. We view that as misguided and counterproductive. This provokes deep divisions and undermines the NPT. We are convinced that a nuclear war cannot be won. It should never be started. Russia unstintingly complies with arms control agreements. We have made achievements when it comes to nuclear arms reductions in line with our arrangements with the United States. Those achievements are well known. There was an extension of the New START Treaty that laid the groundwork for dialogue with the U.S. on future arms control, taking into account all factors impacting strategic stability. This includes offensive and defensive weapons, nuclear and non-nuclear, that can perform strategic tasks. We are prepared to work intensively based on mutual consideration of our interests. What remains outstanding are the issues of post-INF non-nuclear global strike weapons. It's also necessary to abandon the practice of nuclear sharing that runs counter to the NPT. Nuclear weapons should not be based outside one's national territory, and the requisite infrastructure for this needs to be dismantled. The CTBT is a critical instrument when it comes to nuclear non-proliferation. We fully adhere to its provisions. We call upon all Annex II states to ratify the treaty without further delay. We have also unwaveringly adhered to our obligations under the Biological and Toxin Weapons Convention. The verification mechanism would help the full implementation of its provisions by all states parties. We look forward to adopting specific proposals to improve the implementation of the convention at the upcoming BWC meeting of states parties and the BWC review conference. Here, we believe that Russia's initiatives are timely. With a view to starting work to ensure the effective use of the UN Secretary General's mechanism for investigating the alleged use of chemical and biological weapons, Russia will submit a draft resolution to the first committee. We call on you for your support and co-sponsorship. The Chemical Weapons Convention is a key instrument for chemical disarmament and non-proliferation. Russia has been consistent in advocating its strengthening. The OPCW is in a difficult situation. This organization, where all decisions were made by consensus, ended up being divided due to politicization, a dilution of its mandate, and derogation from the provisions of the CWC. Particular attention by UN member states should be paid to the attitude of some countries that see outer space as a place for combat operations in the context of unilateral policies for the placement of weapons in outer space, and the potential for forceful action against outer space objects is being built up. The aim here is military domination to the detriment of all other active or future participants in space activities. Here it is vital for the prevention of an arms race in outer space to become an unequivocal norm of national policies of UN member states and to become a generally accepted international principle. The UN member states need to reaffirm their common understanding, namely that no weapons of any kind should be deployed in outer space. A prohibition on the threat or use of force against outer space objects is also needed. We've been consistent in our advocacy for the launching of negotiations to establish an international legally binding instrument to prevent an arms race in outer space and to preserve outer space for people for peaceful purposes. We submit to the UNGA's first committee draft resolutions entitled No First Placement of Weapons in Outer Space, Further Practical Steps for PAROS, and Transparency and Confidence-Building Measures in Outer Space Activities. We hope that the Russian drafts will be supported and will be co-sponsored. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of the Russian Federation on his statement.